And we are live. Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome. Come on in. We're going to give you a few minutes to come in. I'm really excited about tonight's guest. I can't wait to introduce. So come on in. For those of you who wanted to attend the Parenting Summit on Sunday and you missed it, it's not too late. If you DM your email address to me, I can send you a copy of the or of the replay. It was an outstanding event. All of the speakers were wonderful. We got lots and lots of good information. So if you're a parent, a physician mom who wants to up level her parenting, you definitely want to get that replay. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest this evening. We have with us tonight Dr. Lara Hochman. Dr. Lara is a family medicine physician, and she's known as the medical matchmaker. She is an advocate for fellow physicians' well-being amidst rising burnout and dissatisfaction. Her own experiences led her to discover the ways physicians lost autonomy and how to reclaim their focus on helping patients. She founded Happy Day Health, a boutique physician matchmaking agency, to match doctors with well-run, physician-owned private practices where they can avoid burnout and enjoy practicing medicine again. Welcome, Dr. Laura.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm so happy to have you here this evening. So tell us, so you're a family physician by training. How did you go? Are you still practicing? I guess that's the first
I am.
question.
Yes, I still actually enjoy medicine, so I do still practice.
Okay, all right. And then, so how did you come up with this concept of Happy Day Health?
So, I knew that the system was broken, as we all do. And it was very frustrating that I felt like I couldn't do anything. I'm in all the Facebook groups on the physician Facebook groups, and I was seeing a lot of posts where the practices were having a lot of trouble finding doctors. And the doctors were having a lot of trouble finding practices that would respect them and give them autonomy. So, it almost seems like a natural thing. Like, we have these two people that can't seem to find each other. So let's bring them together. So that just kind of made sense to me. At the same time, I was helping friends and the company I was working for at the time to find doctors to join them. And so kind of word got out, and some friends referred other friends to me to say, hey, Lara can help you find something. And so, and I was putting countless hours into helping friends find doctors for their practices. And that's when I realized, oh my gosh, can you imagine the impact I can make if I made this like my thing? Like, this is what I do full time. So that's how I did it. I just decided there's a huge problem and someone needs to do something about it. So that's what I'm doing.
Wow, that's an incredible initiative. Lots of times we see things that are not right, but to actually, take the bull by the horns and decide that you're going to do something to fix it. I wonder, how did you get the nerve, like the chutzpah to say, okay, they have this problem. They have this problem. Let me fix the problem for both people. What made you think that you could do it?
Oh, I question and doubt myself every day still. I think, it's a part of, for years, even before I started the business, I have been working on not being afraid of the fear. And so that's been something that I've been working on for years. And so when this came up, I mean, it's terrifying starting a business, especially when you don't really have any background. Like in medical school, we're trained so heavily that by the time we're attending, we know exactly what we're doing. So here I was starting a business in something I knew nothing about. So that part was scary. But I just figured, hey, why not? I don't want to let fear stop me. So I didn't, and I just did it.
Okay, so tell us about some of your success stories.
Yeah. So let's think. So I help physicians in a couple different ways. So one of the ways is matching doctors with the small physician-owned private practices. So when I work with the small practices, I get to know them a little bit and know what they're looking for and what kind of person would match with them. So there was one practice that I'd actually been speaking with a physician to for a few months, not about this practice, just in general. And there wasn't really the right practice for her that I could find. But months later, I signed on with a practice, and instantly I was like, oh my gosh, I have the perfect person. Like, that was like really cool, because I'd been
Yeah.
trying to find her something for a little while, and nothing was, nothing was up for Ellie. She was awesome, like innovative and smart, and just cool pediatrician. And along came this innovative practice, which was doing some different things and looking for someone to kind of help share their, share the decision making and have more autonomy and make all those choices. And so that was just like easy win. Like, as soon as he told me about his practice, I was like, oh my gosh, I have the perfect person for you. So that was one really cool one, and they're doing great. There've been a couple others that were more challenging to find the right person. And, for varying reasons, some practices can be harder to find. And there's one practice that I got pretty close to the practice owner throughout the whole process. And she actually found someone, and after they signed, all these things came up and it fell through, and it was really disappointing. And, it took us a little bit to pick ourselves up off the floor and start again. And the most incredible physician just signed with her. This was really cool because it was a physician who has run her own practice, and the practice was looking for a doctor who can become partner and kind of share the business side of things. And this physician had run her own practice, so she understands everything to do with business. And so it was pretty cool, because often when I speak with practices and I speak with physicians, the physicians who've never been in practice don't quite understand what it is to run a practice. And, they make some pretty unrealistic requests, which, it's not that they're being demanding, they just don't understand. This one, like, just got it. And they're so well suited. I mean, it's going to be like amazing. There was one physician I spoke with who he and I started speaking before he had really decided what he wanted to do. He reached out to me and said, hey, I'm just kind of at this crossroads. I'm not sure what I want to do with my life. Can we chat about it? So I was like, sure. So we chatted, and it was pretty clear what he wanted to do. I think there was just a lot of fear holding him back. He may not have even known what, like consciously known what it was, but saying it out loud, it was like, oh my gosh. So, it was very obvious. So he ended up kind of changing his trajectory a little bit. And we worked together to find jobs. We worked on his interviews. We worked on just making sure he was really authentic to what he was looking for. And he said to me, I changed his life. I've changed his wife's life. Like, it's rewarding. Like, this is why I do it. And there are so many physicians that are unhappy, and to be able to find something that you can find fulfilling and awesome, like, oh my gosh, we wouldn't have all the problems we have today. Right? Yeah, exactly. Like, to wake up and be excited to go to work. How awesome is that?
Right. So now tell me, what services do you offer? Because you mentioned in there that you helped him with his interviewing. So say I'm a physician, I'm looking for a new practice situation. Take me through your process.
Yeah. So if you're a physician looking for a job, I can help you find a job. And I do that either through the practices that I work with directly. Those practices I vetted, I feel pretty confident that they're going to treat you really well. Or I have a very large network of other jobs as well that are not necessarily posted anywhere else. So I have access to those positions through a lot of networking that I do. So I have the ability to find jobs. And then for any of the doctors that are interviewing for jobs that I've helped them find, we go through the interview process. We make sure that they are clear on what they're looking for. And I don't just mean clear to the practice owner, but clear for themselves, that they know what's important to them. And then how to go into the interview and advocate for themselves and ask the questions that they need to ask to know if this is going to be a good place for them and to be able to advocate for themselves. And then, we kind of stay in touch. So I like to speak with the physicians before the interview, after the interview, see what questions are left unanswered. And usually it's at least 2 interviews before any offer is given. And then once the offer is given, then we do the negotiations together. So if it's a practice that I'm working with, then I typically get to be that go-between so that they don't have to have those awkward money conversations.
Yes.
Or, if it's a practice that's not my client, but maybe is a practice that I've referred them to, then I'll help them kind of how to negotiate, what's fair, what's not fair. And if they need a contract attorney, a physician contract attorney, I have one that I absolutely love. So, I've had a few physicians that I've sent over to him, and we can do that as well. And I have another attorney that I've referred to for J1, H1B visas, for help with those. So it's a lot of, being in this space. I find it very similar to being a family doc where I know all the specialists in my town.
Yes.
My husband last week was just saying like, oh, I was speaking with this doctor today. I was like, oh, I know him. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, how do you know him? I'm like, this is my job now. So
To know everyone, right?
I know everyone. So
how do you find the practices, or do they find you?
So the practices so far have found me. I've been very fortunate through word of mouth that I guess people like what I'm doing and they seek me out and I help them quite a bit. So yeah, practices have so far found me.
Do you take all comers, or have you encountered practices where you think, okay, I can't send, I can't in good conscience send anyone there?
Yes. So if I don't feel like I would feel good about placing someone there, I wouldn't take them as a client. That's just not what I do. I can't do that.
So what's the big picture vision for Happy Day Health?
Oh, how big? It gets very big.
Yeah, well, take us through it. As big as it gets.
Okay, well, the biggest. So my hope is that once this gets big enough, the impact will reach far enough, not just for the individual physicians. So kind of on a smaller scale, I hope to change lives. Each individual doctor that I work with, I want to change their lives. I want to make it I want to make life better for them. I want, them to be able to spend time with their kids and their wives and actually be present. Because when you're burnt out, you really can't. So that's kind of my smaller scale that fits into the bigger picture. Once enough practices and doctors are doing this and doing well, my hope is that the hospital systems and the big corporations realize that doctors are kind of waking up to what medicine can be and waking up to the fact that they can no longer attract their doctors with all these shiny objects and good benefits and higher salaries, which they're trading for a worse lifestyle and more burnout. But the hospitals will say, oh my gosh, we have to attract our employees by being good to them. Like we have to actually treat our doctors well to attract them to our system. So that's my hope. I mean, if I get put out of a job and my company goes bankrupt because the hospitals are good to their physicians, I would be disappointed, but it would still be a win because I've had that impact that I want to make. So that's my very grandest vision, is for doctors to be treated better, really. I'd like to bring awareness to that. I'd like to empower physicians to turn down abusive contracts, even if the benefits are better or the salary is better. It's just not worth it.
Yeah, I think that at the core of this is about physicians realizing their value, because, we get fed a bunch of stories, a bunch of narratives about, what we have to accept, that this is the way it is, deal with it kind of thing. And I love that you're kind of bucking against the system. How do you begin to change those mindsets in physicians who think they have to stay in those jobs where they're not valued? And, I had a job once where I told them I was an overeducated factory worker. So, where you're just kind of on the assembly line, they're just sending patients through one every 10 minutes, get it done, not valuing the doctor-patient relationship, not valuing the physician as a person, with feelings and thoughts and needs and other things. How do you begin to change those mindsets in the individual physician so that they want more for themselves?
Yeah, so a few ways. One of them is through my YouTube channel. I do a little bit of educating. And of course, it's all my opinion. Like, this is what your salary is worth. This is, some of it's real stuff. Like, I go through how you do a salary calculation and what to look for. Like, if you're working 40 hours a week, but you're actually charting 3 hours, you're not really working 40 hours a week, and how to calculate your salary based on what you're actually working. So a little bit is through education on YouTube, on social media, and then speaking to individual physicians. I realize that I'm a human being and I cannot change anyone's mind. But I feel like if I can at least plant the seeds, then there'll be changes. I may explain to someone, kind of my opinion on burnout. If you were to take a $100,000 higher salary, it's equivalent for something that will make you miserable. It's equivalent to something like, if someone came up to me and said, I will pay you $100,000 a year on top of your salary, all you have to do is just be depressed as you possibly can. Just be depressed, don't sleep well, don't enjoy time with your family, wake up with dread. That's all you have to do, but I'm going to pay you $100,000 a year to do that. Would you take it? Because I wouldn't.
No,
So,
actually.
yeah, so that's like how I view the mindset of like taking a higher salary to work for a system that's going to make you that, just another overeducated factory worker.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. And I think, if enough people hear that and go, oh my gosh, no, you're totally right, then it makes sense. So, a little bit of that and a little bit of like just trying to educate on how business works. I hope to find someone to fight insurance reimbursement, because
Yes.
I think that's another thing that I haven't found anyone doing yet. But the way that the hospitals are reimbursed double what the private practices are for the same thing, that doesn't make sense.
Right. Again,
So
it's like the system. It's almost like the system is rigged against us as the physicians. Corporate America has taken over healthcare, and it's past time for us to try to take it back. You mentioned the business side. We're so handicapped in that we're not taught any business in medical school. And I think many people don't realize that. And then you come out and you're expected to know things and make decisions and be able to bill and code. And it's I often say that medicine is a series of uninformed decisions, right?
yes.
So you go through medical school, and you spend 2 weeks on each rotation, and then you have to choose a residency. You have no idea what it's like to be a resident in that particular field. You see those guys for a couple of days and that's it. And then you go through the residency, you have no idea what it's like to be an attending in that field. And then here you are, a whole attending, and you have to navigate this process that no one really gave you sufficient information about.
Right.
It almost
And
seems
even
like,
if
go ahead.
Yeah, even if they had educated on you, like, this is what business could be like. And, the one thing is educating us on business, but the other is that we're also kind of taught that we don't have what it takes to own a business. We don't have the
Yes.
guts to own a business. And we totally do. Like, holy cow, I would have never imagined that I would do this. Number one, like, I am not the kind of person to fight the system. And I guess I kind of am.
Yes.
And I am definitely not the kind of person to start a business. And I'm a year
Looks like
into
you
it.
are,
And
right.
I am not the kind of person to put my face out and look what we're doing. So, I think that there's a lot to be said for us putting ourselves out there and putting ourselves in things that are maybe uncomfortable for us. But I think that's kind of bred out of us in medical school and residency and our training. And we need to get that back. We have to get that courage back to just put ourselves out there and take some risks.
Yeah, I think courage and power, really it's about owning and reclaiming our power. Because again, I think the way that things are structured, it's in a way to make us feel, perceive, a sense of powerlessness. which is
Yeah.
actually false because there is no medicine without us.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, they can't do it without us. They're trying, with all of the mid-levels and those kinds of things, but they really cannot do it without us. And the sooner we realize and recognize our value and begin to demand different circumstances, I think the better off we will be and the better off the patients will be.
I agree completely. And I think, when we say that we know our value, I think a lot of us speak about it in monetary terms, but there's a lot that when we think about our value, we think about our value as human beings, our value to our families, our value to the system, our value to our patients. So I think there's a lot as far as like what we bring to the table and what we should not be compromising on as well.
Yeah, I agree. It almost seems like this kind of education should start early. Have you given any thought to going into medical schools and residency programs to kind of bring about an awareness of, options that people may have?
I do speak for residency programs. So if anyone is watching and would like me to speak, I would absolutely love that. I think that we need more of us speaking. Um, yeah, so I do speak with residents. I typically will talk about the most common mistakes doctors make when looking for a job and how to avoid them. And in that, I do talk a little bit about like, hey, this is what a non-compete is. This is why we have non-competes, and this is why we should not sign the non-compete. And so I talk a little bit about the choices that we have, and we don't have to sign whatever we're given and all of that. So I do speak to residents about that. I would be ecstatic to talk to any medical school or resident because I do think that we need to spread the word for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I recognize that you're only one person, so it's kind of hard to do it. Do you have visions of building a larger team that can do more of these things?
Yeah, well, actually, I'm training my first assistant this week.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd really like to be able to expand the team enough that I can focus on. I mean, there's so many things that I enjoy, but I'd love to focus on the educating piece and the advocacy piece and just kind of, you know, getting to know more doctors and a lot of the networking and speaking. I love that. And I mean, I love all of it, but I think that I can have a big impact while still having a team to do a lot of what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. So I'd like to end on kind of a standard question. My standard question is, and as a caveat, sometimes another question comes to me after I say this one. So bear with me. But my standard question to end on is if, you were giving advice to women physicians who want to up level their job search or want to up level the caliber of physician that they hire for their practice, what would your greatest piece of advice be?
Oh, that's a big question. Okay. So if it's for a practice that wants to uplevel the physician that they're hiring, I would say um, the one of the important things to know is that a CV is just such a small, teeny tiny snapshot of someone. I would go a lot on what you don't see in the CV. So that would be, not necessarily what school they went to, but what did they do when they were at school? And you may not see those things in the CV. It may take a resume discussion to figure those out. So, you can get an amazing doctor from Harvard. You could get a terrible doctor from Harvard. So, there's a lot more to a person than a resume. So that's what I would have to say for the practices.
Okay.
For the physicians looking, there's a lot. So I'd say probably the most important thing is to be authentic. And I mean authentic to yourself. So really, really figure out what is important to you. Really figure out what you're looking for, and be true to that in the interview. And true to yourself, but also true to the practice, because they want to know who you are, and you want them to know who you are and what's important to you. Because if you don't get the job because of that, you don't want that job. If something is a deal breaker to you, like just say working 5 days a week is a total deal breaker,
Yeah.
and you don't want to go in saying, I'm going to work 5 days a week, and then think that you can decrease your hours. Because I speak to so many physicians who say to me, I asked to decrease my hours, and I was declined. And then guess what? They give me a call to find them a new job. So yeah, absolutely be authentic to yourself, be authentic to the place that you're interviewing, because you want to work somewhere that you love and that you can be there forever and ever and ever. So take a little bit extra time, and that's okay. And of course, if you're looking, contact me. I'd love to help you.
Well, it seems like this is the moniker medical matchmaker is actually appropriate, because as you were talking about, how especially the physicians choose, well, and the practices, it almost sounds like a marriage, you know, or like a dating arrangement that you look at the individual, you look at the circumstance and figure out if this is something that works for you. And if it's not, it's okay. You move along to the next one, but you want to find something that really meets your needs.
Yeah,
And, so it
absolutely.
sounds like it's about managing expectations.
Yeah, exactly. And your own expectations as well for yourself. We'll know what's best for us.
Now, I did another question that occurred to me. Do you have tools to help people find themselves? Because, sometimes you say it's about being authentic and knowing who you are and what you really want, but that's sometimes easier said than done.
I chat with people as much as they need. Yeah. So I typically the first conversation will talk about what they want. And oftentimes people know, but oftentimes they think they know. And I'll be like, hey, it sounds like you're saying this. And then, so a lot of it is talking about what you liked in the practice, what you didn't like. A lot of doctors don't actually know what's out there.
Yeah.
And so, when I speak with doctors, they're like, gosh, I really wish, medicine wasn't like this, because I would love a practice where I didn't have to do this or didn't have to do that. I'm like, there is a practice like that
Right.
completely. So a lot of it is just being able to expand their mind. And yeah, I mean, that's what I do. So
Yeah.
I don't have tools necessarily. Maybe I'll make one day. But right
I
now it's
just
just
wondered, like, if you had questionnaires or something like that kind of
my
help
tool
people
is
to
here.
see. Yeah.
I should. Yeah, I should make one. No, for now it's all just through conversations and kind of following what they say and what they're a lot of times, what they're not saying as well.
Yeah, but I think you hit on a very valid point about the education piece, because if you don't know what the options are, it's kind of hard to know what you want. Because again, series of uninformed decisions. And so you don't really know what it's like to be like for me, I'm an OBGYN. I didn't know what it was like to be an OBGYN attending. I just, I knew how to deliver babies, I knew how to do surgeries, but I didn't know what it was like to be in the office day to day. And I was in one office. I had no idea what all of the different configurations of schedules and offices and possibilities might be. So, I think that this is the area that you're in. I think it's there's lots of room for growth and impact.
Yeah,
So,
thanks.
so tell us, where can we find you if we want to work with you? So if you're a practice looking for a phenomenal physician, or if you're a phenomenal physician looking for a phenomenal practice, how can we get in touch with Dr. Lara?
I'm everywhere. So my website is www.happydayhealth.co. And there's a contact form on there. You can reach out. They go directly to me. I usually get back to those within a few days to a week. And you can find me on LinkedIn. My name is Lara Hochman, MD. I'm on TikTok and Twitter and Instagram as Happy Day MD. Facebook, I'm just me, Lara Hochman. What else? YouTube, Happy Day Health by Lara Hochman, MD. I'm everywhere. But contact me on my website.
Wonderful. Well, it's been such a pleasure talking with you. Like I said, you've given lots of food for thought, at least for me, and hopefully for a lot of our viewers. So thank you, everyone who tuned in tonight. If you are watching the replay, #replay, just a reminder that registration is open for our A Weekend for Me female physician retreat that is being held at the Hyatt Chesapeake Resort in Cambridge, Maryland, March 24th through 26th. Next year, the information is available at www.aweekendforme.com. And this is an event that's curated especially for women physicians, being run completely by women physicians, because only we understand our struggle. So again, thank you, Dr. Laura, and we will see you all next week. Take care.
Thanks.